Hello, and welcome to Message in the Middle with Marianne. We all know that life is hard, right? It's messy, it's unpredictable, but it can be wonderful all at the same time. My hope is that we can take a deep dive into self-development topics and explore life's lessons through book clubs, conversations, and interviews. And together, we can uncover the lessons that others have already learned to help us navigate this crazy, wonderful ride called life. Hello and welcome to Message in the Middle. I'm your host, Marianne, and joining me today is Tara DeLeon. Tara is a highly credentialed personal trainer, professor of health, fitness, and exercise studies, a podcaster, a speaker, and an author. She's helped hundreds of women feel confident and empowered by teaching them how to lift weights, get strong and healthy, and stop apologizing for their bodies. Tara also has an Amazon best-selling book, Hot Mess to Hot Mom, Transformational Tools for Thriving After Childbirth and Beyond. She is the co-host of Wellness Rebranded, a podcast where a dietitian, a personal trainer, and a mental health therapist combine expertise to help you redesign your relationship with food, fitness, and yourself. Tara, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Thrilled to be here.
Same here. We talked just briefly before we started recording, and we have a lot in common, and I think we talk about a lot of the same things, so I'm excited to have the conversation. What originally attracted me to reach out to you was I saw some work that you had done around fitness assessments. And goofy as it may sound, I had saw one in an AARP magazine not too long ago, really focused on balance. And I thought, this is a good thing. I want to do this. And I had a couple of quick steps. And there was some interest when I talked about it. So I really wanted to dig in with you and see if you could share your years of expertise around that and talk to us about what it is and why would we do it. Let's start there.
Yeah. So I actually am like a science geek at heart, right? I love the nitty gritty of why we're doing something. And I feel that diet culture has kind of co-opted fitness assessments. And now we basically just look at body fat, right? Like body fat, body size, body shape. And we go if it doesn't look like this, then it's wrong.
Yes.
And there's so much more to it than that. So I have created something that I call the ultimate health and fitness assessment, which is basically where I look at people, I look at how they stand. Are you symmetrical, right? How does your body move? Can you do a squat without falling forward, without pain? Do you have full range of motion and your shoulders? I think all of this is part of a fitness assessment that most people don't even consider.
Yeah.
But the real reason we want to do this stuff is so that we can live a better life, right? If we can't squat without pain, then sitting on a toilet every single time you do that all day is not going to feel very good. So I would like to look at kind of the bigger picture with health and fitness and then assess all the aspects of it. Because if you don't know where you're starting, you don't even know what your goals should be.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that because, I think I was going to end this part of the conversation around what do we do with the information, but I think you sort of alluded to that, but let's talk about how you can do it. So certainly you can do an assessment. You help your clients and people like you can help. What if I wanted to do it at home? What if I wanted to kind of see how bad am I? What shape am I really in? You can laugh out loud. It's okay. You guys, she's cracking up silently.
Girl, it's not how bad are you? It's just where am I right now? Where am I at this moment?
So that's a good reframe. That's a good reframe for me, right? But I think some of us that haven't, been the fittest, I'll say, or really focused on exercise, we probably think we're probably pretty bad. So what does that, talk to me about that? What does that look like if I was trying to do it myself?
So let me just say this real quick is we're all terrible at something.
Yes.
Right. Fitness wise, we're all bad at something. I'm terrible at cardio, right? There's so many different fitness tests that you should do to get a complete picture of what your body looks like from a fitness level, right? So to think that you're just going to like stroll through the fitness assessment and be awesome at all of it is crazy. You're going to be awesome at something and you're going to be terrible at something, and everything else will probably be somewhere in the middle. But you can do all of this at home, right? So before you dive into what you're doing, like think about the all-encompassing approach to fitness. We want to test balance. We want to test our muscular strength. We want to test our muscular endurance. We want to test our cardiorespiratory endurance, and we want to test our flexibility. So 5 things that you should be thinking about testing when you're thinking about a complete fitness assessment. And some of them are like really super easy. Like, can you touch your toes?
Okay.
Oh, good. Be past that one. Like,
Can you bend your knees or not bend your knees?
right. Can you like move through life pretty comfortably? Then I'd say, oh, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And then there's other things like how quickly can you walk a mile?
Okay.
Right? You could do that at home for sure. Like just get in your car and like map out a mile around your neighborhood.
Yep.
And if you're doing it in like less than 20 minutes, you're probably doing okay. And there's things like the 1 minute push up test or plank test or a sit up test, even if you want to go like old school. And if you can do like a certain number of push ups or hold a plank for this long, you'll kind of know like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good, or no, I'm not. And there's so much information like online about how many push-ups should you be able to do in a minute. There's tables. Just Google that. Set your timer for a minute. Make sure your form is good, and then knock yourself out. And you'll get a good idea of like, wow, I couldn't even do one. I should probably work on this. Or, oh, I did 8. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you definitely want to have like a really well-rounded approach to it. You don't just want to go like, oh, I suck at push-ups. My fitness is horrible. No, your muscular endurance in your chest isn't great, but everything else is still unknown, right?
So then when you do that wide assessment, and to your point, if I can do the walk in the less than 20 minutes, okay, we're in a good spot. But if I can't do the push up or I can't do the plank, then I assume that's an area of focus.
Exactly.
Right? So then I need to work on that. So this is to inform us. This is to inform us where to spend our time and where to try to work on the most.
100%. It's not judgment, right? We're not sitting here like, oh no, I'm the worst person ever because I can't do whatever. It's just letting us know like, hey, from like a fitness standpoint, my workouts should focus more on this type of stuff than this type of stuff.
So let's just say we did that, we know we have to work on, or we want to work on getting stronger, lifting weights, building muscle. I think right now there's a ton of evidence, science-backed evidence out there that says, for my core demographic, middle age and beyond, this is something that we need to focus on. I actually don't know the quote, you might, but we start losing our muscle after 30, is it?
I think it's after 40 for muscle and after 30 for bone.
Okay.
So sarcopenia is like age-related muscle loss. And you lose something like 3% a year after age 40. So by the time you're 70, you're like really weak if you haven't done anything to like kind of combat that.
Yeah.
In your 40s, you might be like, oh, I'm still fine. Right. It hasn't affected your life too much yet. But in your 50s, 60s, 70s, now you're starting to notice like, dang it, I can't lift up that case of water at the grocery store like I used to be able to do.
Yeah.
I can't climb that set of stairs without gasping for breath and having burning quads,
100%. Yeah.
Having muscle or building muscle is the closest thing to the fountain of youth that we have.
I love that thought. I love that thought because we're all trying to grasp on to keeping our youth intact, keeping our vitality intact, staying strong.
Yep.
So where do you suggest someone starts? If someone's not going to come into a gym, whatever reason, can't afford it, doesn't feel comfortable.
Sure, gyms are scary.
What do you suggest? How do they start?
So to build muscle, all you have to do is something that you're not currently doing that's harder than what you're currently doing, right? So, for example, if you were to get like a sturdy kitchen chair and just sit, stand, sit, stand, sit, stand 20 times, you're going to build muscle in your quads from that because we don't usually sit and stand that much.
Yeah.
Right? We stand once and then we walk away. But if every time you go to sit down, which sounds a little bit weird, I know, but every time you go to sit down, you do like 10 sit stands real quick, like your legs are going to get stronger.
I love that. I am reminded that the first time somebody said, if you don't feel comfortable doing like traditional squats, like you see people do in a gym, just sit and stand, sit and stand.
Yeah.
And it never even dawned on me like that's a squat.
Yeah.
Sure, you're probably not going down quite as much, but it's still a squat.
And you know what? It's so beneficial. So in the gym, we actually do this sometimes, and we call it a box squat where you like sit on a box and then stand back up. And when you sit down and like release the pressure on your legs, you actually fire up, you innervate more muscle fibers to stand back up than you would if you had never sat down. So you actually have like hella benefit from doing that. We just think of it as like this easier thing, even though it's not.
Yeah. I love that. And personally, I just realized, literally last week, just realized you can I'm going to say step it up, but it's probably step it down. Like I sat in my granddaughter's table and chairs
Yes.
and I got up from that little teeny chair.
Yes.
And when I got up from that little teeny chair, my husband actually joked. He's like, oh, I thought that was going to be harder than that. Like, cause I stood up, unassisted stood up, which once, so don't get too excited, but still I noticed the difference and I was like, wow, that's actually really good. I should do that a few times, right? Cause so I guess you can increase the intensity, make it more intense by doing it on different things, a bench, a stool, whatever, a box.
Yes. I actually think one of the more like motivating things in fitness is think about what you want to do in your life. Do you want to be able to sit with your grandchildren at their little tiny table and get up without pain or pressure or anything like that? Totally. You know, nobody cares. Like most women, most people in general don't care if they can squat 1,000 pounds, but to be able to get down on the floor and play with our grandkids, that's highly motivating.
Yeah.
So like looking at where your weaknesses are in life and then training for those things, I just think is beautiful.
I love that. So basically anything you're doing at home, anything you can do more of. I love the sit and stand opportunity because that's really relatively easy to do.
So easy.
Love that. Anything else come to mind in that same kind of vein?
Yeah, like anything body weight is going to make a big difference, right? Like do a push-up. If you can't do push-up on the floor, you do it on the wall, right? Anytime you're like pushing yourself up out of a chair, like that's working your triceps. Just stepping up and down on one of your stairs, up and down and up and down and up and down. Step ups are an exercise that is super applicable to life because we all go up and down stairs all day.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think as we age, that gets a little bit trickier because we're losing muscle, but also balance.
Yes.
So that's probably a really good one to do.
And balance is something that we should all be working on more often because it's like the biggest predictor of injury is having bad balance. So if you're like standing there brushing teeth or washing dishes or whatever, like just stand on one foot. And if you can do it for 30 seconds, like pretty solid, you know you're good and you don't have to worry about that.
That's great. I didn't know the 30 seconds because I've been working on this because I could do it on one side, but not the other side.
Super common.
Now I can do it on both sides, but I didn't know 30 seconds was the measurement to watch for. So that's good.
Yeah, that's kind of like the guideline that I give people. And if you get to 30 seconds and it's like, now it's easy, do it with your eyes closed.
That's interesting.
And watch how difficult it is. We take in so much like sensory information visually that if we do it with our eyes closed, like we're all over the place. So make sure you're in a place where you can catch yourself.
Oh, interesting. Great advice. All right, we'll try that. I want to switch gears a little bit, and it's probably going to go into a little personal space of yours, but I think you're okay with this.
I'm an open book, girl.
I've heard you say that, so I knew I could probably go there. You openly share that you are a size 18, and I am sure you are well aware that for many people, that does not fit the stereotypical personal trainer. And not just a personal trainer, a highly regarded, super credentialed, multi-awards, long-time coaching. I mean, you've really been doing this and killing it in this industry for many years. And you're a size 18.
Yep.
So my question is, what's the secret to, I guess, A, not caring what everybody thinks and that you're just good, you're doing you and you're good with it?
Yes.
And how do you show up with the level of confidence that you do every day, knowing that there are people that are going to look at you and think some kind of way?
These are great questions, to be honest. And there's no really good answer. I will say that, like, when I became a personal trainer when I was 19 years old, I wasn't a size 18. I was probably more like a 10. And, bodies change, right? Life happens, injuries, illnesses, pregnancies, like things happen, right? So,
Yeah.
like, our bodies aren't meant to be the same size from the day we're born till the day we die.
Yeah.
Or even arguably from the day we become an adult till the day we die. But I actually became a personal trainer because I grew up obsessed with body weight, body size, like diet. Because the 90s, right? Like diet culture was how we all lived. So when I got to college and I was taking this class, and my teacher was like, "Oh, here's the secret to never being fat again." And then he put the Carbonin formula up on the board. And I was like, "Oh my God, the secret. This is amazing." Like, even though I was skinnier at that time, I felt very much like, "Oh my gosh, this is so great. I'm going to like learn this formula and then I will never be fat again." And at the same time, someone I worked with, I was a waitress at Outback Steakhouse, and someone was like, "You should be a personal trainer." And I was like, "Yeah, okay. I should do that because there are no fat trainers." So clearly, if I'm a personal trainer, I'm going to be hot for the rest of my life. 18-year-old thoughts.
Yeah. Aren't they great? Aren't they great?
So I very much get it that people think that and they look at me and go, "Wait, what the heck?
Yeah.
How does she exist?" It's very controversial for me to exist in this body, in this industry, but like it shouldn't be though.
Yeah, and you make no apologies for it.
I
From
don't.
everything I can see, you make zero apologies.
I always say this, my body is the least interesting thing about me.
I love that saying.
I'm so much more than just my skin suit here.
Yeah.
Like we got to stop focusing on what people look like and wonder what they bring to the table mentally, emotionally, socially. There's so much more to human beings than what we look like. So for me, like I put on weight slowly over the years, right? With a couple periods of random, my dad had cancer, right? So gained a lot of weight during that time. And throughout the years, things happen like that, right? And it didn't change my knowledge. It didn't change the fact that I had all these certifications, that I got a master's degree in kinesiology, right? I'm a literal exercise scientist. And just because my body doesn't look like what diet culture or the fitness industry thinks a personal trainer should look like, doesn't mean that that's not what personal trainers look like. I feel like ever since I've kind of been more open about my size, and like I don't always take my selfies from like the right angle, like to minimize the chins or the belly or the whatever, right? Now I just like, it is what it is. If you don't like the way I look, don't look at me.
I love that. And I love that sense of confidence. Do you truly don't ever have moments of like looking at a picture? You just said take the selfies. Do you ever look at the picture and go, "Ew, I got two chins in that"? Or
yeah, totally.
Okay, you do. So
I'm a normal human being.
I know, but you come across as so confident and so accepting.
Yeah.
Of the position that you're in right now.
I just got tired of not living the life that I wanted to live and not doing the things I wanted to do because I was always waiting for a smaller body. Life's too short to do that. There's tragedies all around us, right? People getting sick, people in accidents, people whatever. Being in a fat body is not a tragedy. And I'm not going to let the way my body looks hinder me from living the life that I want to live. Yeah. That's not to say that I don't cringe a little bit. Okay, let me give you an example. So I flew out to LA in March to speak at a fitness conference. And I got on the airplane and like usually I just buckle up my seatbelt and that's it, right? And this time I buckled my seatbelt and I was like, holy smokes, that is on the edge of not fitting right. And I was like, oh my gosh, what if I'm so fat I can't fit in my airplane seat? And I totally had a moment of spiraling. But at some point, are we not gonna like go to the things? We're not going to stay in, I'm in Maryland, right? So we're not going to stay in Maryland our entire life. We're not going to only go places we can drive. I love traveling. I'm not going to stop doing that just because I might be embarrassed for a sec to go like, hey, can I have a seatbelt extender? Which now they're making airplanes with longer seatbelts just in it. So it really isn't even like that big of a deal. But it's something that for a moment I was like, oh my gosh, like maybe I should go on a crash diet or whatever. And it's like, we know that 95% of diets don't work long term. So, I'm not saying like don't choose to eat healthy, right? That's not my message. My message is be healthy regardless of how it changes your body's looks.
That's a great message.
I think people get confused that I'm just promoting like being fat is great. And it's like, it's not about that. It's about your health. So we want to be exercising several times a week. You want to be getting out of breath and sweaty at least twice a week. You want to be getting enough sleep, whatever that means to you. For me, it's like 8 hours, but for some people, it might be 7 or 9. We want to be eating a wide variety of foods. We want most of those foods to be like whole foods, not the store, but like
Yeah.
the food
Yeah.
itself, right? We want to be like minimizing processed stuff, but that's not to say you can't ever have it. Fit it in there. Sure. I eat tons of processed food. I also eat like a really, really high amount of fruits, veggies, and lean proteins. It's about health. It's not about looks.
It really is about balance. It's about finding that spot where you can be healthy and pursue, even if you want to be healthier, or pursue your health goals, but not get hung up in your head about where your body sits or where the scale is. I think that's where a lot of us get stuck. We get hung up on I'm not that size, or I'm not that specific number on the scale. And we wait. If I lose 20 pounds, then I can do this. Or if I lose 40 pounds, then I can do this. Or I'll take the pictures when I look better. Like it's all those things that I think trip us up and hold us back.
Yeah. It's so difficult too. And I'll give you another example because society isn't at all accepting of this. So when the National Strength and Conditioning Association announced that I won this award, which is like huge, this is a huge, huge deal award. It's not popularity contest, it's a merit-based thing. There were probably like 500 comments on the post, and like 100 of them were probably like, yay, congrats, Tara, that's so great. And the other 400 were like, oh my God, look at this horrible human being. She's so fat. She's cute, but she's a terrible personal trainer. I would never trust her. She's scamming people out of money. The NSCA is sold out. They clearly are all about diversity, equity, and inclusion now. Just horrible comments. And those are like the really benign ones.
That's awful.
There were like horrible things. So rule number 1, never read the comments.
Yeah. I am so sorry that they were even there, though, and that taints the moment. The accomplishment, it really does.
It does. It like hurt a little bit to be like, damn, I know I'm smart. I know I'm badass and awesome and gorgeous.
Yeah.
And the picture I chose was like super cute, professionally done picture. It wasn't like a shitty selfie from a bad angle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, dang, if that's what they're saying about me when I thought I looked pretty good in that pic, whoo, they're not going to like seeing me in real life.
Yeah.
But I feel like those kind of things say more about them as human beings.
Yes.
And I honestly hope that some of their clients read those comments because I'm sure they have lots of clients who look like me. And now their clients have now seen that their favorite trainer has gone on and shamed someone over nothing but the size of their body. And I hope that speaks volumes.
Super valid. It does speak volumes. It does say a lot about them, but it also says a lot about you because, again, back to your confidence and your ability to rise above it and be comfortable in your own skin. That is difficult. So kudos to you for really mastering that and helping share that sentiment across everybody that you meet and talk to and who listen to you.
I sometimes when I feel insecure about things like that, I kind of draw on experiences that I've had where I've done things that I consider to be like awesome and badass. I'll give you an example of this. When I was in college, there was these islands. I went to college in Hawaii, and there was these islands that are a mile and a quarter offshore called the Mokulua Islands, and everybody like rents kayaks and kayaks out there, and like, there's a lot of birds on the islands, and then they kayak back and it's no big deal, right? Easy. We were too poor to rent kayaks, so we just decided to swim out there. And so, untrained, sight unseen, me and 5 friends were like, let's go swimming. And so we swam out to the islands and we got there and realized, holy smokes, that was super difficult. We didn't bring water, we didn't bring food, right? Because we're swimming in our bikinis. We're not like even dressed in appropriate swimming attire, really. And then we realized it's getting dark. So we're either here for the night or we got to go now. So we sat on the beach for like 5 minutes and then we're like, guess we're back in the water. And, we all made it back. But that was a physically very grueling thing that we did. And in true testament to like college kids, we basically all landed on the beach. I'm sure all of us were like, wow, we probably almost died like 10 times out there and we don't even realize it. And we all just looked at each other and were like, hey, do you guys want to go get dinner? And we just kept living our life. We didn't even like talk about the traumatic thing we just did almost.
Yeah.
And then later we found out like it's not good for swimming there because it's a known like tiger shark hangout.
Oh my goodness.
So definitely shouldn't have been swimming there, at least not that far from the beach. But
you use that evidence. You use back to you're a scientist. You use that evidence to remind yourself that you are a badass.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And listen, I think that's good information for everybody because everybody has something like that. Maybe not quite swimming through shark-infested water, but everybody has something where they've either been kicked down and they've gotten back up and they've made it through to the other side, probably better, or some achievement that they can look at.
A real easy, like low-hanging fruit is anyone who's a mother, instantly a badass. Yeah. Having kids is not for the faint of heart.
Agree. As a grandma, I agree with that. I love that. Well, I guess as we start thinking about some of the stuff that happens in the industry, I'm curious. I mean, you just talked a little bit about your experience, but I guess I'm curious about what still surprises you because that can't surprise you. That reaction is probably, while disappointing, it's probably something you sort of expect as well. What surprises you still in this health and fitness industry at this point in 2024? Like, is there anything that surprises you?
Yeah, there's so many things, honestly. I can't believe we're still putting down fat people or people in general. I will say that even if I had been lean and super fit, there probably wouldn't have been so many comments on that post, but they would have torn me down for something else. Oh, her hair, or if I had tattoos, oh, she's tattooed, yuck. A hater's gonna hate.
Yeah.
So my size was just the elephant in the room, right? The low-hanging fruit there. But people are gonna be hateful online, so that's not entirely surprising, but even in like real world, situations, like I can't believe that we're still criticizing people for their bodies.
It's sad, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
There's so many more important things going on in the world that all of a sudden, like, there's one fat person over here. That's the real problem. People take on this moral judgment of that is shameful. Like he should never have let himself get like that. And it's like, fitness isn't morality.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Food is not a moral choice. Fitness is not a moral choice. Mind your own business. I also think it's still surprising how many people don't care about health. Even with all that we know, like cancer rates are rising, heart disease rates are rising, stress is rising. All of our health metrics are basically going worse. And yet we're still concerned about body size and not about actual health markers.
Well, and I think the health markers, I'm not an expert for sure, but I think they're off too. I think, a lot of times we've talked about this before and actually with doctors, but you go to the doctor and they look at your blood, they look at your BMI,
Ugh, don't even get me started on that, girl.
right? And really, that isn't a true indicator as to whether you're healthy or not.
Oh, totally. I actually, on my podcast, I don't know if you want to link this in the show notes, but I did like a whole 20-minute rant essentially about how the BMI is worthless in this day and age. I'll send you the episode later, but the short version is it was invented by a guy named Quele in the 1700s, and it was only done on healthy white males. So if you don't fit that demographic, it's not applicable to you. It was never meant to be a health metric, and he specifically disregarded any data that didn't fit like what he was trying to find. So BMI really is kind of like worthless.
And there's nothing to replace it yet, really, that's out there in mainstream, right? So to your point, there's not really a good indication of what healthy really looks like. And it certainly isn't about the size of the body.
You definitely can't see health.
It can't be the only thing. It can't be the only assessment factor. So yeah, you can't see health. That's a great point. Because certainly we all know you could see a perfectly slender, physically fit body that's loaded with cancer.
Yeah, totally. I actually had a client who had lost like 20 pounds because she was dying from cancer. And people would come up to us in the gym all the time and be like, "Oh my God, you look great. What are you doing?"
Ugh.
And she'd be like, "Oh, I'm dying.
Awful.
Stage 4 cancer."
Awful.
And people would be like, and I, of course, loved it because I feel like there's so many other things we can compliment people on other than body shape and size.
Yeah.
Like you look so happy, or you're just glowing today. You look so vibrant, or you made me feel so good about whatever. Like there's so many other compliments that could be given that we don't need to be like, "You look thin. Like, how'd you do it?" "Oh, I'm dying."
It's a judgment in itself, right? Just that statement.
Yeah.
As we wrap, I'd love to know, what's the best fitness advice you've either ever gotten or you've ever given?
So the best fitness advice is just to be consistent. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It matters that you do it consistently. If you do it consistently, you will see results. I promise. And to add on to that, I think that most people believe that in order to get fit, you have to work out like every day for an hour. We put these arbitrary like time limits and rules. 59 minutes, not good enough. 60 minutes, success, right?
Yes.
In reality, if you were to lift weights twice a week for half an hour and then go walk outside in your neighborhood 2 or 3 times a week, you're going to have killer health results, and it's not going to take you your whole life. That said, if you love exercising, like by all means, go do more. Great. But like for the people that are like, "Dude, I don't have time to work out. I can't get into the gym regularly. I don't like working out." Just half an hour twice a week is a great place to start.
Yeah, and I will even take it less than that, because somebody that I was recording with earlier in the week reminded me that 5 minutes can be a great place to start.
Yeah.
If you do nothing today, if you can just give 5 or 10 minutes, which most people, even the busiest people, can come up with 5 or 10 minutes, and you be consistent about it, soon enough, you probably will add to that, and it'll be 15 or 20, whatever. But
like a 4-minute Tabata is going to give you similar cardiovascular benefits to a 20-minute walk outside. There's always a way. And I will also say, here's one little trick that I use with myself. I don't feel like working out a lot of the time. Like I'm busy, I'm in the gym all day. When I'm done working, I want to get out of there. But my kind of like deal that I make with myself is do 5 minutes. And if you still want to go, you can. And I'm telling you, out of all the years I've been using that trick, I've left after 5 minutes like twice.
Well, yeah, because once you get started.
Yep. You get those endorphins flowing, and, in the immortal words of Elle Woods, endorphins make you happy, and happy people don't kill their husbands. They just don't.
I always used to say that I did Zumba like religiously for like 4 years. And the success I found around that was the trick was I wouldn't come home from work. At the time, I worked away from my home. I would stop on the way from work and I would go. And that was the trick, because if I had a day off on one of my Zumba nights, I wouldn't go, or I'd have to drag myself there.
That's totally the secret.
Yeah. So just make it part of your like pattern of better. So Great tips. It's been great talking to you. I will put all the links in the show notes. Remind people to listen to Wellness Rebranded podcast. Check you guys out.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining me today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Message in the Middle with Marianne. If you enjoyed the podcast, please take a minute to share it and write a review, as it helps bring new listeners to our audience. If you'd like to keep the conversation going between episodes, please join us at Facebook group Message in the Middle with Marianne.